Hello there and welcome again to Computers in Agriculture. We start the PowerPoint section here, and I'm just going to record one short video for the whole entire three sections of PowerPoint that you're going to work on, and including leading up into your midterm exam project. You all have spent a lot of time coming up through education seeing PowerPoints, and I'm sure many of you have seen very good ones and also very poorly put together PowerPoints. We as faculty use them, probably overuse them in terms of presenting content to students to try and get across to the visual learners that like to see some of the stuff on the screen. And it's really important when we talk about learning how to use PowerPoint that we learn how to use it effectively. So this section will hopefully take you through some of the keys to putting together a very good PowerPoint. Let's start at the top here. And if we go through the ribbon, you'll see some new tabs here. As I click on the Home tab, very similar to what you saw in Word. And then if we go to the Design tab, PowerPoint has some stock, for example, backgrounds that we'll show you here, and we'll pick one here in a little bit. Also, here's the Transitions tab. As you transition from slide to slide, you can put in different things that can kind of create some pizzazz, so to speak, to your PowerPoint. And we'll talk more on that in a second. Same thing with animations. You can actually animate some of the text or words or charts or pictures or images that you bring into your PowerPoint. And we'll talk more about that in a second. And then finally, unique to PowerPoint is this slideshow gallery. In which you can go to start your PowerPoint. You can present it online. You can start to set up some rehearsed timings. So for example, if you were presenting the PowerPoint, let's say as a movie, so to speak, or a video at a kiosk or at a booth that it's just going to be a rolling video, you can set those timings and transitions up in this particular gallery. So those are unique to PowerPoint here. If we go down to the status bar, it tells you again how many slides that there are. The spell checker is still down there. And then if you get here, this is the Notes tab. You can actually add notes. And PowerPoint has added a tool in which now there's what they call presenter view, where your audience only sees the slide, but you can have notes on the side of the screen at your computer station, in which if there's additional things that are good reminders that you don't need to put all of that text on the screen or on the slide, you can have those notes as reminders to yourself. So that way you don't have to use note cards or something like that. But you'll see that appear down at the bottom, and you can add critical context to the things that you want to talk about. Also, you can look at different presentations here. This is the normal default view in PowerPoint, which is the main or active slide, and then all the additional slides that are off to the left here. There's also, this is what they call slide sorter view, in which you can click and drag. Maybe you want to reorder your PowerPoint a little bit, or maybe you have additional slides that you want to put into your slideshow. You can click and drag them around and reorganize things as you add and edit and change PowerPoints over time. There's also reading view. I use this very, very rarely in terms of looking at stuff. That's just good mostly for proofreading, in my opinion, on PowerPoints. And then, of course, slideshow view, and you can click that to start your slideshow at any time. So let's get back to normal view and start looking at a PowerPoint. So this is what they call a title slide. And again, hopefully you'll take note that I've very carefully chosen my font so that it's clear and easy to read. Again, you guys have all seen many, many PowerPoints over your educational career. Some good PowerPoints, things that are in common with PowerPoints that are effective. Number one, the lines are brief. A good rule of thumb is like a 6x6 or 7x7 rule. So no more than 7 lines per slide, and no more than 7 words per slide or per line. So as you think about that, be brief, be quick to the point and succinct with your wording, so that you are carefully thinking about what you want to say, and say it as briefly as you can on the slideshow itself. You can always expand upon that if you're presenting this to an audience. But an audience gets very distracted by things that are very long. When you use images, graphs, tables, use them strategically. Make sure that they enhance your PowerPoint and don't distract from it. If you're going to use transitions and animations, I mentioned that we would talk about those in a little bit. Make sure that they're not distracting. Make sure that you guard against things that are slow or bounce or twirl a lot, that take a lot of time and really get distracting for your audience. I tend to not use very many of those things at all. In terms of presenting things in a classroom or online, just like this manner, it really distracts your audience quite a bit whenever you have a lot of that stuff going on. You can even do things worse, which is add noise, in my opinion, like a screeching tire sound to your PowerPoints. And so PowerPoint has a ton of tools for things like that, and you can add lots of quirks and gimmicks to your PowerPoint. Just be careful which ones that you utilize so that they work well. Lastly, then use colors carefully on your PowerPoints, both in terms of background and font, because some can be very, very difficult to read. This was obviously just a black and white, actually quite plain PowerPoint. And these don't wow audiences either when you just put a little effort into it and have a very plain PowerPoint. But it is kind of easy to read. But if you get really fancy with your colors, some are very difficult to read. Yellow washes out quite a bit on almost every system and every presentation model that you'll ever look at. It's very, very hard to read. Reds are very difficult to read. And often things that look really good on your computer screen don't look so good whenever you get in to present them into the presentation space. So if you have the chance to preview that, always test it and see if they can actually read it, if it comes across well, because you never know what the lighting is going to look like, what the quality of the projector might be, and so forth. So just take care in the combinations of backgrounds and fonts that you utilize so that your PowerPoints are clear and easy to read for the audience. That way you'll keep their attention as long as you can. My next slide here, again, I've given you an example. Here's where I say be careful on utilizing fancy fonts. Some of them can be really difficult to read, and that will distract your audience. I've put in here a paragraph essentially. And you all, if you've seen some of these, you know as well as I do that if you see a paragraph on a slide, you start tuning out because you're not going to have time to read it all. Many people read faster than others. So those get frustrating and also very distracting, disturbing for your audience, and you'll find that they tune out. So be really careful how you select and put together your PowerPoint. And then lastly here, I put in an image. PowerPoint is great with using images. You can drag and drop and size them however you want. Notice I got the contextual tab up here at the top, so you can kind of change that however you like. So if we go to the design tab and again start to use some of the stock things that are in PowerPoint, notice it will automatically change for the entire PowerPoint. And kind of formats it in its own version. Notice this one got really even much harder yet to read. And so you can toggle through, and there's other color options and variants here in terms of what they might look like and so forth. So pick your PowerPoint backgrounds and designs very, very carefully. So I'm going to conclude and wrap this up here very quickly. The 3 assignments in the PowerPoint section are relatively easy for you to do, in my opinion. They're very clear in terms of what types of things that you need to do, and I think you'll get through them with relative ease. The third one is the most challenging, as you will actually be inserting some different little image clips, clip art, and you'll be formatting that to an extent, kind of changing it on the screen. You actually add a little audio video clip to it. So be embedding that in PowerPoint. So there's some good little things that you'll be practicing as you go through. The one thing I do want to highlight though, in terms of leading up to your midterm project, is you'll be presenting a project to the class. So a PowerPoint of your choice, something that is of interest to you, that you will build about a 15 slide PowerPoint and present it to the class. Now, you may physically present it to the class in front of everybody, or you can utilize a tool like Loom or Screencast-O-Matic and actually present it electronically for those that will be online. So you'll have two options there. But I encourage you to start working on that, because as simple as it sounds, I've historically had lots of students that struggle with putting that presentation together for your midterm PowerPoint project. That's due during midterm week. And I would encourage you, once we get into this PowerPoint section here a little bit and you start playing with the tool a little and learning the options that you have, to go ahead and start working on that PowerPoint so that you're ready to go at presentation time. So, as always, if you have any questions, run into troubles, please contact me. Post in the discussion forum on Ask the Instructor. I'd be glad to help you out anytime. Thanks for tuning in.